Welcome to our comprehensive review of the Super73 S1 electric bike.
We've had these bikes for just about 1 year now in New York City, and we really want to tell you guys all about them.
In this video, we're going to jump into the specifications of the bike, some of the benefits, some of the drawbacks, and cover whether it's worth it for you to invest in a Super73. Now these are the specs for the bike. Weighing in at 70 pounds, the S1 is a beefy electric bike with a steel frame that is built for durability and speed. It's equipped with a 500 watt motor, making it a Class 2 street legal e-bike. While the bike can easily accelerate to 23 miles per hour, I've been able to reach a top speed of 27 miles per hour. The bike can be powered by using the thumb throttle for a motorcycle feel, or by using the pedal assist that comes in 3 modes: Eco, Mid, and High. It has a 768 watt-hour removable battery that takes around 6 to 7 hours to charge. The bike provides about 25 miles of range using its fastest mode and about 35 miles of range using Eco Pedal Assist mode. It comes with an LCD display and 3 control buttons. Pressing and holding the middle button turns the bike on. Once on, tapping the middle button switches the headlight on and off. The bottom button allows you to toggle between the 3 modes, Eco, Mid, and High. Tapping the button a 4th time turns off pedal assist altogether. The display also shows you your battery usage, odometer, trip, and voltage. The bike seat is fairly wide and long and is made of a comfortable leather material. Lastly, it comes with reflectors on the pedals and brake lights that illuminate every time you pull your brakes, all designed to keep you visible and safe on the streets. Now let's talk about some of the benefits.
The biggest benefit to this bike is that it is insanely fun. Like, you cannot get on this thing without having fun no matter where you are going. It is just a joy to ride no matter where you are.
The next major benefit is that the experience of riding this bike is just so much better than all the other alternatives we have for our methods of transportation, for getting to school, getting to work, and just getting around the city. Our other options would be walking, which is just really tiring. The other option is taking the subway, which again, if you've been in the New York City subway, it is disgusting. In the summer, it's hot and nasty, and in the winter, it's cold and nasty. So we're really just trying to avoid the subway at all costs, and so taking the bike is just a great experience. For getting around the city. You get fresh air, you get to feel the breeze as you're biking around the city, you get to see people, you get to kind of just experience the city, flying through it as you get to your destination.
The last benefit that we realized about these bikes is they genuinely are the fastest way to get around the city. They're much quicker than the train, they're much quicker than walking. Even driving at times can be quicker because you can weave in and out of traffic, and there are designated bike lanes that don't necessarily have stoplights. So depending on your destination, you could get there much faster than any other way around the city.
Now let's talk about some of the drawbacks of riding the Super73 around the city. The first major drawback is definitely parking. Before you invest in this bike, you need to make sure that you have a storage solution for your bike, whether that's in your apartment, in your house, or whether the building that you live in has a designated bike room. We were lucky enough that our building had a bike room, and so it's super easy to transport the bike into that area. You also need to make sure you have a place to store it wherever you're going, whether that's at your school, at your job. A lot of office buildings are actually required to offer some sort of bike storage solution. At least that's the case in New York City. So definitely look into that, look into those options if there's a place to store your bike, because if you do have to park your bike outside, you really have to worry about bike theft. It's a big thing in New York City, so if you do have to park your bike outside, you're gonna have to invest in some kind of lock. We've invested in Kryptonite bike locks, which is a very high quality brand. You can look into that, but it is a drawback. It's a hassle. You have to figure out where you're gonna put your bike.
Along with parking, you also have to worry about weather. So the bike is not completely waterproof, so you're not truly supposed to ride it in the rain. Snow also presents a big problem because your tires usually slip out, or it can just become very dangerous also with ice, in the same way as cars or motorcycles would have a problem at times. So A major drawback is that there are certain seasons where you can expect to not be able to ride your bike. And the combination of that and parking, if you find an outdoor parking space, you need to make sure that you're not parking it in the rain or that you have some type of tarp to cover it. But it definitely is a major drawback.
The last major drawback is maintenance. And honestly, with owning any bike, maintenance is going to be something that you have to do. One issue that came up for us was getting tire flats every now and then.
We've actually gotten 4 or 5 tire flats. It's pretty rough out there.
But part of that we do know is just bad luck. Sometimes you run over a nail, you run over something sharp, you get a pinch flat. But fortunately, you just go to a bike shop, get an inner tube. They only cost about $20. But just be prepared that you might have to get that inner tube and replace a flat tire whenever that happens. Another thing is replacing the brake pads. Super73 recommends that every 500 miles you replace your brake pads. So just to give you some context, we've had our bikes for about a year. My bike is currently at 750 miles, so I've had to replace the brake pads once, and Isaiah's is at...
My bike's around 1,200 miles, and I'm just getting to my second brake pad swap.
But it's not too bad. The brake pads only cost about $20. You can get them on Amazon, and that pretty much covers it for the maintenance. Now let's talk about whether it's worth it for you to invest in a Super 73.
The very first thing that you need to consider is what your location is. Chris and I just happen to be in New York City, and the bike works amazing here. But I know that if I tried to take it to Pennsylvania, where I'm from, it wouldn't work because of the hills, because of the streets, there's no bike paths. So that is the first major consideration. And along with that comes parking. In New York City, parking just happens to be a bigger issue than maybe if you were just to drive it into your garage and store it there. And it is definitely something to consider.
Another thing you should consider is your commute. If you're just gonna be riding the bike for fun, it's no big deal. You can ride it around and then take it back to your house. But if you're gonna be using this bike to go somewhere specific, like your school or your work, you probably wanna look into what that commute is going to look like. So what I would do is go into Google Maps and look up bike directions for where you're trying to travel with the bike. So definitely look into that commute before you invest.
The last thing to consider is the price. These bikes are $1,800 and they're the mid-range Super 73s, but they do come with a lot of extra benefits that are needed for some people. For example, our bike comes with a headlight, and you may not think you need it, but when you're riding at night, it really comes in handy. The next thing that we use also is the removable battery. We don't have to charge our bikes in the bike room. We can take our battery on the go, we can charge it at school, we can charge it in the apartment. So it is definitely an added benefit to that price point.
The last thing to consider is whether you're going to be saving money if you do invest in this bike. Because we live in New York City, we realized that we were going to be taking the bike to get around instead of buying an unlimited Metro card, which costs $127 a month. So we realized that by saving about $100 a month, the bikes would actually pay themselves off after about a year and a half.
I would say for me, the fun factor of this bike makes it worth it for pretty much anybody. Whether you're in the city or in the suburbs, whether you're commuting or just riding it around your neighborhood, the bike is so ridiculously fun that I think that it would be worth it pretty much almost anywhere.
Regardless of the drawbacks, regardless of the cost, these bikes are so much more than what we've described in this video. There's an intangible factor that's not on paper, that's not in the spec sheet, that's simply encapsulated in how fun it is to be riding on these bikes. They're so much faster than you think, so we definitely recommend that you try to get a test ride. Try to find a Super 73 bike location near you, or maybe try to find a friend that owns one. We definitely recommend taking a test ride before you invest, and at that point, I think you'll be sold. So thank you for watching. If you got something out of this video, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing, and we'll see you guys in the next one. This is, I would say, you also don't have as much pressure to be following the traffic laws as strictly as cars.